Hello, welcome to our central campus in Glendale. We're going to wait just about another 30 seconds to show you our campus today. We have a variety of programs that we're going to check out. Just some housekeeping items for you all. One, make sure you ask any questions that you have. We do have somebody that will recommend that you use Wi-Fi to stream this just because there might be a better connection for you. And then 3, you will be able to see this after we're done. It will be posted to our YouTube. You can go back and rewatch, or you can show it today and they'll be able to see it. And then go ahead and get started. Jump in really quickly here. So the first that we're going to see here are high school programs. So West-MEC is a public high school district. We are what's called a CTEC, which means Career Tech. Essentially, that means that all the programs that we offer today that you're going to see as well are career education programs. So that means that they're all hands-on. So our goal is to help our students be prepared for careers when they're leaving here. That's really what you're going to see in that program, that career connect. That's the first thing. The second thing is, since we are an education district that covers multiple so we area, pretty much Paradise Valley over to Wickenburg, down to Tonopah, around through area, Dysart District, Alfreda District, Buck District. Well, North Central is within our boundaries. So if you have any questions, if you are unsure if you're in our boundaries, make sure you put those in the chat box, and we will make sure. All the two high school classes, so our students have part of their day here and then part of their day at their high school. Your students here this morning start class in the afternoon. Do some adult students be a little busy afternoons. So that's really kind of our big picture of who we are. We have 4 campuses across the west. This is one of them. We also have one in North Phoenix off of Deer Valley and 19th Avenue, one in Surprise off of Dysart and Grand, and one in Buckeye off of I-10 and Verrado. We have 28 programs total, and they're scattered across all of those campuses. So you're not going to see all of our programs today. If you have, you can always check out our website. You can let us know, and we can answer those for you as well, or you can talk to your program, and they might be able to help you as well. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go upstairs really quickly. So typically, programs have a lab that's separate from our classroom. This is a classroom on this end, and then our lab on the other end. That allows us to really incorporate things a little bit more of our airplane hanging other in here. So avionics and drone electronics is a 2-year program. So it means it's your senior year. This program is really going to talk about the communication, navigation, and electrical systems in airplanes. So to do that, we do have to understand electricity, current, circuits, and how all of that works. So you'll see over here, so this is kind of almost like a Lego set for circuits. So all of these different components the students put on there, and they have little kind of adaptation to all these components, have electricity travel to another, and make sure that it's correctly. If not, then they know how to kind of problem solve and go back. So we talk about some pretty high level electrical alternating current, DC current as well, industry, technician, things like that. But also if you are interested in like electrical engineering, because there is a pretty high level of electrical theory in this program. Over here, we start getting a bit more of your typical components. Here, we have what we call our glass cockpit. So these are all systems that you would find in an airplane. Install, and all of these really have systems that would run just as you would see on a normal airplane or area. So it's easier for them to understand and see things working. So an example, the flaps that you would see on an airplane here will actually move a little bit if this is working properly. So one switch is pretty critical, even just for take. So that really kind of narrates how important these components are. Back here, we have right here we have some solder is really combining two wires together. It's very precise. Very important that you do that. And then drones. So drones are incorporated into this program. It's kind of the aviation industry for a couple different sub-components. So this is for things like going to an area after a hurricane, or to serve lots of different applications. So this, and they do all the wiring here. They'll test it out to learn if it's working properly as well. So it's an exciting new component for this program. All right, let's go downstairs and operates just like, let's see, additional counselor, just like your traditional, something that is a little bit different. So our programs are about 2.5 hours a day for the most part. Need to have, they would be having dinner, things like that. So this space is for them to be able to get some water, have a snack, maybe warm something up or whatever they need to do here. So that's really helpful for them in those kind of long days. ask the teacher if we can ask. Okay, come in. So welding is also a tool, and this makes pieces of metal together. So an example of that is you'll see here, this plate of metal is attached to this frame. A little bit of a long, that is together. So this is something that's used in a lot of different industries. So this is used in the aviation industry and automotive, and really our residential lives as well. So bridges, buildings, lots of things have welds that we use. So this is something that's always needing new people to complete all the tasks. Program more practice time. So welding is really kind of like an art. The first weld that you do is not going to be your best weld, and the more you practice, the better you're going to get. So that means that we have students be able to really practice their welding. And this is how we to remove any for us to be breathing in. We have our welder, we have all of our tools, and then we have our plate for them to be able to weld on here. So students will learn some sort of new concept, just more. We work on all different types of metal. We work on flat plate metals. We work on pipe metals. We work on different angles. Really have that perspective. Let's go check out our next program. Precision machining. Different kind of pieces that this uses as well. So we have two components. The first is manual. We use our lathes and then also some separate. This is where the students will put in a piece of metal here, and it spins it really, really quickly. And then they bring in a cutting instrument to remove fine layers of metal. They can create round objects on here. This is an example of that. So this is a blueprint. This is something that students created on SolidWorks. And they essentially, this has all the different components that they need on here. So all the dimensions are called out. So this is kind of like a map for them. So they look and they can go and take just a round piece of metal and turn it to this part after that. So they learn how to create these blueprints. They learn how to read that. How to actually make the part on the machine. So it is a pretty cool kind of cycle of life in this program. So the other programs and other manual are our mills. These on more rectangular square pieces of metal. So this right here, hold it flat. And then they'll bring down a piece like a drill bit or something like that to remove the layers of metal and again make that very precise part. So when we say precision, we mean precise in like the width of a hair. How precise it is. Very. Once students they learn something called CNC, which is computer numeric. So you'll see these kind of odd box, there isn't a for these, this is a computer component of the mill. It's a computerized lathe, and the students learn code. So they are able to type in specific letters and numbers to tell the computer exactly what they needed to do. They open up this door, put in a piece of metal. In a few hours, depending on the intensity of the project, it's completely done just by this. So this increases the efficiency of a shop. This allows them to make even more than they could with normal scissor components. These are really expensive pieces of equipment. So this is really why West-MEC exists. Just these three in the middle are normally 6 figures each. So they're normally over $100,000. Not every high school can have these really expensive pieces of equipment. So if we have one West-MEC where multiple school districts can come to our expensive programs or expensive pieces of equipment, and students from all over our districts can come to participate in this program. So that's really why West-MEC works with so many districts. Right. Let's go check out safety. As well, it's all about really helping student safety industry. So this program is full of things. The main focus is going to be preparing students for the academy. The police academy students can apply for half. This allows them to have some job opportunities after graduation that fills that gap corrections and in dispatch and in public safety, private safety as well, that they can work in. So we cover a really good chunk of information in here. One thing is how to deal with people in kind of situations. We actually have ourselves to learn how to interact with jail kind of correction setting. You'll see some different pieces of artwork and things in there as well. But so essentially there's specific protocols and really specific procedures that somebody has to follow in this setting. This allows us to practice that, so then if they go into that job, they're already ready for it. They don't have, they might not mess up the procedures because they've had the opportunity to practice. We talk about law, Bill of Rights. We even have a shoot, don't shoot scenario. So we have a computer that has about different scenarios. Then it has a camera that captures your action. So it's kind of like an Xbox Connect or something like that. So as you're moving, it adapts to your movements for that scenario. So it can really kind of place you into some sort of hard situation that you get to really learn safe as possible in a very controlled environment. Over here we have a little bit more of our forensics. So we do fingerprinting, we do blood questions. Some students that want to go into really kind of more at that. You'll see that we do have some exercise equipment, and that's because we do have physical training in this program, because ultimately if students are going into the military or into the police academy, they pretty intense training component for the physical components for each of those. So this introduces students to that while they're still in our program. And then over here we even have an armory, so we have airsoft firearms that we use in this program. Students learn how to hold those properly, the really safe procedures for that. And then we also participate in honor guard, so they're able to work on kind of some more ceremonies and things like that nature. You've probably seen it before. Okay, so we're going to go check out this Just as a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to type those in the comment box and we can get those answered for you. Pop it around with a GoPro. Our labs and the actual job setting that students would be participating in. So we'll see our aviation program in just a second, and it's in a hangar for the lab. You saw our welding program has a welding really shop, and precision has a machine shop, and all of those things. While coding, really the industry stands kind of more in a setting. So that's why things look a little bit different in here. Our coding program is really taking essentially taking a blank slate and creating a specific website for a specific purpose with very specific and intentional colors and graphics and buttons that when you click, they have a certain function. You create all of that in that program. So this is a big thing right now, right? Because we are having a lot of our normal day, which means that means we need even more websites to be able to house that. So students in this program are really, they're always in need. Technology has been really common and really growing for us in the last few years, but right now, this is a booming industry. So very exciting if you're interested in that technology industry. We also do have some app design as well. So this is a great first step if you're interested in being a software developer, a web developer, an app developer, or if you just want to go kind of dive more into computer science, this is a good first step for you as well. There's actually some cool things that we can see for this program. So this is a server. So this really helps the program have the internet capacity that it needs. And the liquid that you're seeing essentially cools that to make sure that it doesn't overheat. So pretty neat instruments in here. Okay, so we're going to come back over here really quickly. So next we're actually going to go see our Aviation Maintenance Technology program. That's in our other building, it's in our hangar. We have a little bit more interesting web connectivity in that building, so it might get a little bit glitchy. So what we're going to do is we are going to tell you about it here, and then we'll walk over back to this building. So essentially, Aviation Maintenance Technology is a 2-year program, and that is really the mechanics for airplanes. So that's learning how to work on all of the mechanical systems on those really aircraft. So this is working on the engines, this is working on the frame, this is working on those power systems. Every mechanical component, essentially the students work on by tearing it apart, putting it back together, problem solving, all of those different components. This is a pretty unique program because it actually has a federal certification. So all of our programs are certification based. That one, the certification comes from the FAA, which is probably something you've heard before. They're the ones that really kind of set the stage for all things aviation industry. They have some very intensive hours for this program. So most of our other programs are normally about 2.5 hours a day. Our aviation program is 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for 2 years, plus 2 weeks of 8-hour days each summer. The reason for that is because it's this federal certification, it's really pretty high level, and there's lots of job opportunities all around the nation after that. So we have students that work in Arizona, we have students that have gone to Hawaii, we have students that have gone all over the place. There's lots of job opportunities, they pay very well, so there is a huge reward, but there is a little bit more of a commitment for that program. So just be aware of that. It is for attendance for all of our programs. It's always very important that you're here as much as possible. Specifically for that program though, it is very important that you're there as much as you can, because every minute that you're gone, you need to make up at some point. Okay, so with that, we're gonna go over and check out our aviation maintenance technology program in the lab space. Like I said, there's a little bit different service, so we'll kind of see things. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the comment box, and then we'll come back over here where there's some better service in just a second. So let's go check it out. So we can see things a little bit more in here. Maintenance technology airplane hangar. So you'll see that we have quite a few planes. So look the same. Everything is always changing in here a little bit. So in this program, like I said, it looks a little bit different because the students have been working on all of these. So you understand all the different components of the engine cycles, how to replace things in the aviation industry has very specific protocols because once airplanes take off, everything has to be over on a cloud. It has to be proper until they're able to be landed again. This is a very interesting thing though, because in flight, when you're on a movement, right? So it's never just really smooth sailing. There's always a little bit of kind of, so if you think about it, even something like putting a bolt into the engine, just putting in a bolt, it could loosen up and fall out. So even every bolt in the aviation industry has to have something called safety wiring, which is when it is wired through another, there's a hole on every bolt, and it's essentially connected to each other. So it makes like a figure 8. They stick a piece of wire through the hole on the top of the bolt and then to another one, and they create that figure 8 and tighten it down. So that means that when it's in flight and there's that movement, those bolts are always tightening each other and that one extra step. So there's potentially a lot more in-depth things that you never would have thought of in any other industry that is really covered in this program. All of our programs have at least 51% of your time in the lab. For many of our programs, like this one, normally that's the second year is a little bit more time out in the lab. The first year you have a little bit more time in the classroom to learn some of that new industry. You'll see over the engine shop, we have some landing gear that we work on. Most of our planes are propeller planes, jet. They're all different sizes, different shapes, different ages, different colors. So there is quite a variety that you get to work on. And this isn't necessarily the size of airplane you always have to work on. We do have students that work on really the more traditional jets you fly around. Okay, let's clear things out really quickly and then run back. So here's another angle of everything for you. And then over on this side, we have some pretty basic welding. We have a paint booth so that they can paint anything if they have to replace like the body components. And then over down the hallway, we have a sheet metal shop where students get to learn how to work with sheet metal, which is the metal that's created the body of the airplanes. It's very sharp and you have to use a specific way to be safe, as well as riveting and things like that they'll learn in there as well. So let's go hop over where there's better service. So those are our programs of our Southwest campus. If you have any questions, please make sure you put those in the comment box so we can get those answered. I wanted to cover some kind of big picture, normally asked questions for you here today. One thing before we dive into that, we are currently accepting applications for all of our programs for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. If you're a freshman or below, you'll be waiting until that sophomore year, so you still have a little bit more time. But for sophomores, juniors, and seniors, you can apply from our website for any of our programs. We recommend the sooner the better, just to really jump into that application a little bit quicker. If you have any questions about the process, feel free to give you our email address in just a second, or you can also visit your counselor or visit our website. So commonly asked questions. One is transportation. How do students get here? Either drive themselves, carpool with a family member, or carpool with a classmate from the same. So we don't have a bus, we don't have transportation, we have a bus some students just based off of the bus lines. The second thing is their traditional high school day, and that is that we have elective credits that get transferred back to their high school. So all the time that they spend here, they're still getting credits for their high school that keeps them on track for graduation. So this is really in addition to their high school programs, and it complements that. It's not instead of, it's those two that come together. Another common question is sports. A lot of our programs are 1 to 3:30 year, or excuse me, 4 to 6:30 the first year, 1 to 3:30 the second year. Those time frames are normal sports are happening. So unfortunately, a lot of times students do have to make a choice between West-MEC or sports. Sometimes things work out. We do have some programs in the morning, but oftentimes there is that choice that has to be made. The question that I want to answer for you is cost. Many of our programs are $125, and that's a fee student. And if a student has graduated, then there are some additional tuition fees, just like college and things like that. Programs are a little bit more expensive if they do have a kit that check our website, send us an email, chat with your counselor, but oftentimes it's around $120. The really next question that I wanted to highlight is why West-MEC, and that is these programs are all career training programs. So this means that all of these programs are going to prepare you for some sort of next step. We have career services that help students with resumes and with interviewing skills. So truly, we're going to develop you as much as we can, both for your career in this specific industry, but then also for your profession. So those are the really kind of big picture questions that we asked. Sarah? Okay, so it looks like that's everything for you guys here today. If you have questions later on, feel free to contact us at our email address, which is recruiters, west-mec.org. Definitely check out our website, west-mec.edu, or talk to your counselor as well, or your teacher, and they can help you as really kind of create that contact